What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, counting down today the top 10 strangest fighting games. For this list, I really wanted to dig deep to find the games that are so off the wall that you gotta give credits to the designers for even thinking of it, so let's jump right in. Number 10. Metal and Lace, Battle of the Robo-Babes. Robot combat games have been pretty much around since the dawn of gaming, though this one has a bit of an odd twist. In the 90s, Street Fighter II really blew up the gaming market, and every designer wanted to create their own perfect 2D fighter. Well, this PC classic is all about attractive female mech pilots and duels to the death. Every foe you're able to conquer gives you a little bit more money, granting you access to better upgrades for your awesome power suit. In between battles, you can even hang out in this weird, creepy bar filled with people that look like rip-offs of every other fighting game. And clicking around this bar will give you access to different areas, and even let you go in the back where there's this sleazy teacher-looking guy who's willing to sell you armor upgrades. Everything in this game is cosmetically strange and just looks a little bit warped, but where things get really taken to the new level is whenever you win a fight, and then your character removes an article of clothing. You can tell that this was supposed to be the main appeal of the game, because the combat is absolute garbage. As a fighting game, it doesn't really work so well. The whole upgrade system is pretty much broken. The only reason people played this game was for the robo-nudity. This title was just super bizarre because even if you really liked robot games, why would you play a robot game where every time you win a fight, they take the robot gear off? I don't even know what the target demographic was other than weird, strange perverts in the 90s. Number 9. Rakugaki Showtime. At its core, this game plays a lot like any other arena brawler, but with one crazy major twist: the awesome art style. Rakugaki in Japanese means artist's scribbles. You know, those tiny little doodles you leave in the corner of your paperwork in your board. Well, this game basically asks the question, what if those doodles decided to go to war and fight to the death? Although your characters are able to beat the crap out of each other with just their fists, the main source of damage comes from thrown objects. You can throw frowny faces that'll explode, rocks that'll just break their face, other enemies, or even nuclear missiles. Whatever this giant artist hand draws is your new weapon of ultimate destruction. The crazy art style is what really makes this game unique. Everything about it really sticks to the theme that you're stuck on a page. These little 2D paper cutouts are amazing, and I even like the touch that the health bars are colored pencils slowly being whittled down. This game was just so unique, and I'm so glad they made it because it's just such a trippy experience and therefore earns its place on the list. Number 8. Wu-Tang Shaolin Style. The Wu-Tang Clan was a popular band in the 90s, and for some reason they thought it'd be a great idea to really cash in on this by making a fancy fighting game based on interdimensional ninjas trying to steal the Wu-Tang Clan and take over the world. It really makes no sense. For this footage, I'm playing as Old Dirty Bastard, one of my favorite members of the band, and also because he has this awesome move when he wins where he can rip people's heads off. The story is absolute insanity. It has you skipping from New York to interdimensional dojos, fighting against rappers and also demons, all in hand-to-hand combat. If that wasn't enough, they even released a special controller just for this game, and let me tell you, it is garbage. It's definitely the worst controller I have ever seen or touched in my life. I never would have thought of merging a mythological fighting game on a band, but you know what? They did, and I'm glad they did. Number 7. Balls. I should probably point out that this game is not a demo. This isn't a test product, this is a final game that was actually sold on store shelves. When the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were competing to be the best console ever, game designers were experimenting on how to properly execute 3D gaming. The team that made Balls thought the best course of action was to make character models simply out of orbs, so that whenever the camera rotated in 360 degrees, you didn't have to program an object from different sides. I suppose that does make sense, but now we just ended up with a strange fighting game that has us flying around as giant balls, just spheres flying towards each other in strange combat. According to the instruction booklet, these fighters are supposed to be ballerinas, bodybuilders, or even a crazy clown, although when you look at it, it's honestly pretty hard to tell. As bad as the graphics were, this game sold extremely well, and I bet a lot of people watching this video remember playing this game in the 90s. Number 6. Thrill Kill. This is the only game on the list that was technically cancelled, but since it was totally done upon cancellation, the developers decided to release it secretly online for free. Think of this game as Super Smash Bros., but instead of having Mario and Luigi, you have cannibals, creepy guys on stilts, and women wearing leather. The plot of this game is set around 10 people who have all just died after living terrible, evil lives. Instead of going directly to hell though, they are now pulled into a competition, beat all the other souls in arena combat, and one person, the winner, will have a chance to be reincarnated and live their lives over again. Controls in this game work surprisingly well for how goofy the plot is. Hitting foes charges your special meter, and only by unleashing a super move when the meter is full can anyone be killed and taken out of the match. This actually created a really fun mechanic, because it becomes less about not being hit and more about jumping out there and attacking anyone and everyone you can. A few weeks before this game was to be launched, EA actually bought the company that made it and cancelled it, fearing a giant PR nightmare. If you have a strong stomach and want to play a game that could never be put out today, definitely check this game out, because honestly, it's hilarious in its own totally twisted way. Number 5. Shaq Fu. Shaquille O'Neal was an American basketball player who was in a lot of really strange stuff, but nothing could really top his terrible fighting game. At the start of this tale, he was walking through Tokyo on his way to a huge charity basketball game when he strolls into a random dojo. One thing leads to another, and next thing he knows, he's in a parallel world fighting against cat people, mummies, and even a few shaman. After beating all these strange monsters in one-on-one combat, you're able to save a little boy named Nizu and even make it to the charity basketball game on time. How was this game even made? How did a group of programmers see this as a good idea? Making a professional sports player into a 9-foot-tall ass kicker just seems like such a random choice, but you know what? I'm glad they did, because now it gets to live forever in the pages of history. Number 4. Clayfighter. This series was extremely popular, and for good reason. It had well-balanced fighting, a wide range of characters, and even stole the idea of fatalities from Mortal Kombat. If you actually take a step back though, and really look at the whole game series, it's quite a strange concept. Seeing a cyborg rabbit beat the hell out of an evil snowman is just not something you see every day. This game was so wildly successful it actually had 2 full-blown sequels. The full series is Clayfighter, C2 Judgment Day, and the game footage you're seeing here is from the Nintendo 64 one called Clayfighter 63 1/3. This series really stood on its own in such a fascinating way, and not just because of how creepy and bizarre it was, but just the general art style and feel was so one of a kind. For this game, they didn't even want to use computer animation. Instead, everything was done with claymation. Hundreds and hundreds of pictures were taken of clay models and used that to craft these creepy fighters. It's been nearly 20 years since the last one came out, and you know what? I think it's about time they reboot this franchise for next-gen consoles. Number 3. Project Justice. Called Rival Schools 2 in Japan and Project Justice in America, this is a school-based fighting game. Each club at the school is fighting to be the very best and thus rule the school. You have the Sports Club, the Yearbook Club, the Bully Club, the Psychic Club. You know what? Every club in this game is just bizarre. I don't know what school this is, but I really want to go to school in Japan if this is what's really going on. For some reason in this game, you'll find yourself fighting samurai in a classroom or getting your ass kicked by someone playing a violin. This game is to its core insanity. The plot of this game revolves around deadly ninja assassins, brainwashed gang leaders, and the super cool power of friendship. If you find the Japanese version of this game, you even unlock this really weird board game that honestly, I don't know what in the world it does. This game should really be remembered forever, mostly because, well, you can watch a school nurse and a guy with claws beat the absolute crap out of each other. Number 2. Teleroboxer. Yes, this game was made completely with red and black. This is one of those few games released on Nintendo's absolute flop of a console, the Virtual Boy. It's a boxing game that takes place in the distant future, where instead of actually fighting people, you're just using giant robots to fight for the world's entertainment. Control in this game was extremely complicated, because the Virtual Boy actually had 2 D-pads. Doing left and right hooks, blocks, or a properly timed jab required you to hold down the correct button on the D-pad and then press the punch button at the right time. Each enemy had different weak points that had to be exploited properly or they were nearly unbeatable. Whenever you were able to finally down an enemy, the robot would fall apart and you'd get to see whoever was controlling them. Some of them would be crazy ninjas or just silly stuff, except for the last boss, which was a cat. As an added bonus, this game probably also has the strangest credits of all time. Whenever you finally beat the game, each developer's face goes in front of you, it says their name, and you're able to punch them over and over again. Why does this game exist? The biggest downside of this game is the fact that later on they found out that the Virtual Boy could damage your eyes. Basically, this is a fighting game that can literally blind you. While this game is a lot of fun in its own unique way, I do strongly suggest you never ever play it. Mostly because I want you to be able to keep watching my videos, and if you go blind, that's not really going to be possible. Number 1. Battle Construction Vehicles. Have you ever been walking past a big construction site and wondered what it would be like if all the drivers suddenly went insane and decided to fight each other to the death? No? You never asked that? Well, Battle Construction Vehicles decided to answer the question that nobody asked. Welcome to the first and only fighting game based around construction vehicles. To make things even stranger though, this game actually has a story mode, and the story mode is just absolute batshit. We are playing as a young Japanese man on an infinite quest to build the world's most successful construction company, and he sets out to brutally defeat all the best workers in Japan and win them over to his team. I'm making this sound really epic, but the actual gameplay is just two very slow vehicles bumping into each other over and over again until someone randomly dies. In an effort to try and keep gameplay interesting, you also have special moves that can be executed. You have a defensive technique where magic girders will pop out of the ground and guard you for a short time, or you have massive attacks. These super attacks are just super random, anything from ramming them to summoning a giant bee and sting your enemy to death. I mean, what the hell? Absolutely nothing in this game has any logic in it, especially as you get further in the game and start facing off against evil construction workers or even your secret adoptive father, which just makes no sense at all. This game was only released in Europe and Japan, and honestly, I can see why. I imagine if you tried to release this in America, little kids would buy it and their parents, well, they'd be a little bit confused. If you've ever been looking for a game where two huge machines slowly grind into each other for about 9.5 minutes, well, guess what? This is the game that you've been looking for. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If it's your first time watching, please subscribe for future videos. As always though, guys, do me a big favor and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, maybe check out my last video. Please subscribe, and if you want, share this somewhere with your friends.